What's happening? It's Willy Sochko back with another episode of Willy Sochko Destroys the Flat Earth. But before we begin, there's this YouTube channel out there. It's just called Willy, and it's spelled the same way that I spell my first name, and it's got a picture of me as the profile, and they've got some of my videos reposted on there. This channel is not me. It is not run by me. I have no say in it. I have no idea who does this channel. So I am not responsible for a single thing that is on that channel. Okay? You want to see my videos? Come here. Don't go there. I mean, should I just let them be? You know, or should I try to take action against them? For now, I'm not doing anything because I have, bigger problems in my life. But if you guys think it's a big deal, then maybe I'll listen to you. Just want to make you aware of it. So please comment and tell me what you think about the situation. What do you think I ought to do?
Willy Sochko destroys the flat earth. Here's what all of your proofs are worth. Willy Sochko destroys the flat earth. If you actually buy the shit, then I legitimately feel bad for you because you're wrong, and here's why.
Okay, before we get started with this episode, I just want to mention something that I forgot to mention in the last episode, and that is that the Earth is not actually a perfect sphere like you see in this globe. It's a little bit fatter in the middle, and there are all kinds of different little inconsistencies. It's not a perfect sphere.
6. If Earth were a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, as NASA and modern astronomy claim, spherical trigonometry dictates the surface of all standing water must curve downward an easily measurable 8 inches per mile, multiplied by the square of the distance. This means, along a 6-mile channel of standing water, the Earth would dip 6 feet on either end from the central peak. Every time such experiments have been conducted, however, standing water has proven to be perfectly level.
Is that so? Could I possibly have an example of such an experiment? No? All right, I'll look it up myself. The Bedford Level experiment. I'm reading off something here. First conducted by Samuel Burley Robothman. Holy shit, that guy was British. In the summer of 1838. Great year for science. Practically just as scientifically advanced as last year. He stood 6 miles from a bridge while standing in the midst of a river, looking through a telescope that was 8 inches above the surface of the water, and watched a boat sail all the way to the bridge when it should have been below his line of sight given the curvature of the Earth. Of course, he completely failed to factor in atmospheric refraction. And when the experiment was repeated in 1870, yes, that's how long this issue has been settled, people, with atmospheric refraction taken into account, the results were consistent with the curvature of the Earth. Go figure. Now, just what is atmospheric refraction? Because the density of air in Earth's atmosphere decreases as the height from the surface increases, all light rays that travel nearly horizontally bend downward. They assume a curve or change in air temperature along the line of sight. So, if you're measuring close enough to the surface, which you often are at the height of only a mere human being, light rays can curve downward at a rate equal to the mean curvature of the Earth's surface. The two would then cancel each other out, and the Earth would appear flat in optical experiments, such as the one conducted in 1838 by Mr. Robotham. I hope you guys could understand that. It was hard for me to grasp myself. But if you do get it, I don't know how on earth you can be a flat earther. I mean, maybe atmospheric refraction is just like another one of their boogeymen, like gravity.
7. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor the supposed curvature of the Earth into their projects. Canals, railways, bridges, and tunnels, for example, are always cut and laid horizontally, often over hundreds of miles without any allowance for curvature.
Well, first of all, we've got the Verrazano Narrow Suspension Bridge, which spans across the mouth of the Hudson River from Brooklyn to Staten Island, which was, in fact, built with the curvature of the Earth in mind. But leaving that aside, I mean, we've built a bridge over in China that's over 100 miles long. Now, obviously, it's not a suspension bridge, but we built it without having to worry about the Earth's curvature. Now, how can that be? Shouldn't this be pretty simple to you guys? The bridge is not one solid 100-mile long brick, okay? It's made out of smaller parts. A lot of smaller parts. And all those smaller pieces are secured together on location. Okay, so you don't have to worry about bending your material or bending your design to fit the earth. It's already inclined to fit the earth. Now, if you intend to use one solid block of something or one long cord like they do in suspension bridges, then you do have to factor in the curvature of the earth, which they do.
8. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea, is 100 miles long without any locks, making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line, 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and the water's surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles.
Okay, listen. Sea level is not the same as flat. 26 feet below sea level just means 26 feet below sea level at just whatever place in the curve you happen to be. Let me show you. Okay, so now that I've drawn it, I can explain to you what I've done here. This circle is the Earth. So the Suez Canal may be, let's say that's 26 miles below sea level, which obviously wouldn't be to scale. That would also be 26 miles below sea level. That would also be 26 miles below sea level. Now, do they form a straight line? No. That's because sea level would be the entire outer rim of this circle. Okay? Sea level is not flat.
9. Engineer W. Winkler was published in the Earth Review regarding the Earth's supposed curvature, stating, "As an engineer of many years' standing, I saw that this absurd allowance is only permitted in school books. No engineer would dream of allowing anything of the kind. I have projected many miles of railways and many more of canals, and the allowance has not even been thought of, much less allowed for. This allowance for curvature means this, that it is 8 inches for the first mile of a canal and increasing at the ratio by the square of the distance in miles. Thus a small navigable canal for boats, say 30 miles long, will have, by the above rule, an allowance for curvature of 600 feet. Think of that, and then please credit engineers as not being quite such fools. Nothing of the sort is allowed. We no more think of allowing 600 feet for a line of 30 miles of railway or canal than of wasting our time trying to square the circle."
Oh man, now he's actually quoting someone. That means now I have something that I can specifically cross-reference. First of all, the engineer W. Winkler cannot be found online outside of quoting this very book. I can't even come close to trusting this guy's authority as an engineer, which even if I did trust his authority, that would be a fallacy. But seriously, his online footprint is only as big as being mentioned in support of the flat Earth, but it does say where he was quoted, the Earth Review, which does kind of sound like the name of a scientific journal, except it isn't. There is no such journal as the Earth Review. I'm serious. Go ahead and check out Wikipedia's comprehensive list of Earth and atmospheric sciences journals. You will not find a publication called the Earth Review. You just won't find it anywhere. And even if it does somehow exist, it must not be very credible because it's not worth including on the list. So as far as I can tell, I'm looking at a fake quote from a fake person published in a fake journal. Do I even need to go into what he actually said?
10. The London and Northwestern Railway forms a straight line 180 miles long between London and Liverpool. The railroad's highest point midway at Birmingham Station is only 240 feet above sea level. If the world were actually a globe, however, curving 8 inches per mile squared, the 180-mile stretch of rail would form an arc with the center point at Birmingham raised over a mile, a full 5,400 feet above London and Liverpool.
Okay, so just for funsies, I'm going to go ahead and try and visualize this one. So I'm going to draw a curve here. We'll say that's the curvature of the Earth. Now, not to scale, I'm going to put in some cities here. Now, what he's trying to say is that an exactly straight line, an exactly horizontal line stretching from London to Liverpool would require Birmingham to be pretty much a mile higher in elevation than London and Liverpool. Now, this just isn't the case. You see, when they dug this railroad, they didn't dig straight into the crust of the earth, right? They went along the surface of the earth. That means that if there's a 180-mile railroad on the surface, it does curve. Sure, it looks like the railroad goes completely straight and only has to heighten to an elevation of, 240 or so feet, but that's because of atmospheric refraction. And like I've said before, the railroads are little individual pieces. I mean, already, you'll accept that there are variations in elevation on the surface. So either way, the railroads would have to be built to accommodate those. And since they are steeper curves, are quicker curves, are shorter curves, they are more important to factor in. And if we can accommodate for those curves, then why on earth, pardon the pun, would we not be able to accommodate for this very slight curve?
11. A surveyor and engineer of 30 years published in the Birmingham Weekly Mercury stated, "I am thoroughly acquainted with the theory and practice of civil engineering. However bigoted some of our professors may be in the theory of surveying, according to the prescribed rules, yet it is well known amongst us that such theoretical measurements are incapable of any practical illustration."
All our locomotives are designed to run on what may be regarded as true levels or flats. There are, of course, partial inclines or gradients here and there, but they are always accurately defined and must be carefully traversed. But anything approaching to 8 inches in the mile, increasing as the square of the distance, could not be worked by any engine that was ever yet constructed. Taking one station with another, all over England and Scotland, it may be stated that all the platforms are on the same relative level. The distance between eastern and western coasts of England may be set down as 300 miles. If the prescribed curvature was indeed as represented, the central stations at Rugby or Warwick ought to be close upon 3 miles higher than a cord drawn from the two extremities. If such was the case, there is not a driver or stoker within the kingdom that would be found to take charge of the train. We can only laugh at those of your readers who seriously give us credit for such venturesome exploits as running trains round spherical curves. Horizontal curves on levels are dangerous enough. Vertical curves would be 1,000 times worse, and with our rolling stock constructed as at present,
Physically impossible.
Okay, so first I looked up the Birmingham Weekly Mercury, which was apparently a British newspaper around the late 1800s and early 1900s. You know, just the place to look for modern scientific evidence. Not that this would be evidence anyways, because it's 100% anecdotal, but this could be more recent if you're actually referring to the Sunday Mercury, which is based in Birmingham, although it's a tabloid, so I doubt they'd be talking about this. But wherever you got this from, why wouldn't you include the person's name? You know, you have a whole huge quote that takes forever to read. It took so long to read, I had to speed it up. But you didn't bother mentioning this person's name? But even if this is a legitimate quote, it's entirely consistent with what I've said before. Railroads are not made of one solitary 100-mile-long length of iron, okay? They're separate pieces that are actually fucking hammered into the damn ground, and they don't have to fight the curvature of the earth for the same reason that the Mississippi River doesn't have to fight the curvature of the earth. Why do I get the feeling I'm going to be repeating myself a lot in this series? And also, if we accept this quote to be legitimate, which I'm not inclined to do, all it does is reinforce the idea that you don't need to factor in Earth's curvature when building railroads and canals. It doesn't even come close to indicating anything about the shape of the Earth. I'm sorry, Mr. Dubé, but you lose. Thanks for watching. Please share this and the previous episode, and give it a like, and leave a comment and tell me how I did. In the comments of last video, we had some serious arguments going on, which actually didn't make me that happy because there weren't enough of them. More people need to see this. I want more arguments. I want more flame wars. Everybody who believes in the flat earth needs to see this series. There's so much more to come, and it's only going to get better from here. Peace and love. Peace and love. Who's mama's little baby? Who's mama's little baby?